Australia, a continent alone, surrounded by ocean on every side, the nearest landmass thousands of miles away. Isolated, separate, a world unto itself. It has been this way for 45 million years, drifting slowly north since it broke from Antarctica. Alone long enough for life to take its own path, to become something found nowhere else on Earth. This is the sixth largest country in the world, nearly 3 million square miles. From tropical waters in the north to cold southern seas, from Indian Ocean sunsets to Pacific dawns, the scale is hard to grasp. The distance from east to west is the same as London to Baghdad. The coastline stretches longer than the distance around the entire Earth. Empty beaches run for hundreds of miles. Some have never felt a footprint. The center of Australia is red. Desert stretching in every direction, the outback, flat and dry and silent, dust and spinifex and scattered rock. Rain falls rarely. Rivers run only after storms, then disappear into the sand. Some of the oldest rock on the planet lies here, 3 billion years old. The Earth was young when these stones formed. Mountains have risen and worn away. Seas have come and gone, but this land remains. Uluru rises from the desert floor, a single stone, 6 miles around. It glows red at sunrise, orange at sunset. Sacred to the people who have lived here for 60,000 years. The coasts are different worlds. In the north, tropical rainforests push against the sea. The Daintree, ancient trees older than the Amazon. Ferns and vines and mist. Rivers brown with tannins flow to the ocean. Crocodiles patrol the waters. In the east, the Great Barrier Reef runs for over 1,000 miles, the largest living structure on Earth, visible from space, home to thousands of species. Coral cities built over millions of years. In the south, the land turns cool and green. Tasmania, temperate rainforests and alpine peaks, wilderness that remains untouched. The west coast is dry and rugged. Red cliffs meet blue water. Ningaloo Reef lies just offshore, where whale sharks glide through the shallows. Between the coasts, eucalyptus forests cover the hills, the Blue Mountains, the Grampians, sandstone cliffs and hidden valleys. The smell of eucalyptus oil hangs in the air. Wetlands spread across the north. Kakadu, floodplains that shimmer with birds. Billabongs, where crocodiles wait in stillness. Waterfalls that thunder in the wet season. Australia holds deserts, rainforests, snowfields and coral seas. Fire and flood, drought and storm, extremes that shape everything. But it is the wildlife that truly sets this place apart. Kangaroos move across the open country. Some stand taller than a man. They have been here for millions of years, hopping across a land that belongs to them. Koalas sleep in eucalyptus branches, 20 hours a day, slow and quiet, surviving on leaves that would poison most animals. The platypus swims in cold rivers, a mammal with a duck's bill, a beaver's tail, and venomous spurs. Wombats dig burrows in the hillsides. Echidnas waddle through the bush, covered in spines. Possums glide between trees at night. The ocean is just as rich. Whales migrate along both coasts, traveling from Antarctica to the tropics. Great white sharks hunt in the southern waters. Dolphins surf the waves. Sea turtles nest on warm beaches. In the far south, little penguins come ashore at dusk. Above it all, birds fill the sky. Cockatoos, parrots, kookaburras laughing at dawn. Wedge-tailed eagles circling on the thermals. Australia kept its secrets for a long time, hidden by distance and sea. The rest of the world knew nothing of it until recently. But the land is old, the animals are old. The story began long before anyone arrived to tell it. This is that story. Red earth, blue ocean, green forest, white sand, Australia. The heart of Australia is red. Not brown, not orange, red. The color of iron, the color of rust. The color of a land that has been baking under the sun for hundreds of millions of years. This is the Outback, the empty center, a desert that covers most of the continent, flat and dry and endless. The horizon stretches in every direction without a single tree to break it. Rain falls here perhaps 5 times a year, sometimes less. Rivers exist only as dry beds, white scars cutting through the red earth. They wait for storms that may not come for years. When the rain finally falls, they flood. Brown water rushes across the land. Then it disappears, soaked into the sand, evaporated by the sun. The silence is complete, no traffic, no machinery, no voices. Just wind moving across the spinifex grass, just the occasional call of a crow. At the center of this emptiness, Uluru rises. A single rock, 348 meters high, 9 kilometers around its base. It looks like it was dropped from the sky onto the flat desert floor. Uluru is not a boulder. It is the tip of a massive stone slab that extends kilometers into the earth. What rises above the surface is only a fraction of what lies below. The rock is Arco's sandstone, rich in iron. When the iron meets air and water, it rusts. That is why Uluru glows red. At sunrise it turns pink, then orange, then deep crimson. At sunset it shifts through purple and violet before fading into shadow. The surface is not smooth. Caves indent the base. Waterfalls appear after rain, streaming down grooves worn over millions of years. Pools collect in hollows. Life gathers at these waters, insects, birds, small mammals emerging at dusk. Uluru is sacred to the Anangu people. They have lived here for at least 30,000 years. The rock holds their stories, their lore, their ancestors. 50 kilometers away, Katachuta rises from the same desert floor. 36 domed rocks clustered together, taller than Uluru but spread across the land rather than standing alone. The name means many heads in the local language. The rocks are different. Conglomerate stone, pebbles and boulders cemented together over 600 million years. Valleys wind between the domes. The air is still inside them. Cooler. Shadows cut sharp lines across the orange stone. Beyond these landmarks, the desert continues. The Simpson Desert lies to the east, over 1,000 parallel sand dunes running north to south. Some stretch for 200 kilometers without a break. The longest parallel dunes on Earth, the Gibson Desert, the Great Victoria Desert, the Tanami. Names for emptiness, names for places most people will never see. Life survives here. It has learned to wait. The red kangaroo moves across the plains, the largest marsupial on Earth. It travels at night when the heat fades. It can go weeks without drinking, pulling moisture from the plants it eats. The thorny devil walks slowly across the sand, a small lizard covered in spines. It drinks through its skin, channeling dew and rain toward its mouth through tiny grooves between the scales. Snakes hunt at dusk. The western brown snake, the king brown, they feel vibrations through the sand. They strike fast. Dingoes roam the outback. Australia's wild dog. They hunt alone or in small packs, rabbits, kangaroos, whatever the desert offers. Above, wedge-tailed eagles circle, wingspan over 2 meters. They ride the thermals, watching for movement below. They can spot prey from kilometers away. At night, the sky explodes with stars, no light pollution, no haze. The Milky Way arches overhead, so bright it casts shadows. The Southern Cross hangs in the darkness. The Outback feels empty, but it is not dead. It is waiting, it is patient. It has been here for a very long time. The red center, the ancient heart. In the far north of Queensland, the green begins. Not the dusty green of the Outback scrub, a different green, deep, dense, dripping with water. The green of a rainforest that has been growing for 180 million years. The Daintree. It is the oldest continuously surviving rainforest on Earth, older than the Amazon, older than the Congo. It was already ancient when dinosaurs walked beneath its canopy. The forest covers 1,000 square kilometers. It spills down from the mountains to the coast, and here something rare happens. The rainforest meets the reef. Two of the most complex ecosystems on the planet touch at the shoreline. Nowhere else on Earth does this occur. The canopy rises 60 meters above the forest floor, layer upon layer of leaves blocking the sun. Below, the light is dim, green and filtered. The air is thick with moisture. Every breath feels heavy. Trees here are survivors. Some species have barely changed since the age of the dinosaurs. The idiospermum, the ribbonwood, living fossils. They produce seeds that drop to the dark floor and wait for a gap in the canopy. A fallen giant, a shaft of light. Then they grow. Ferns unfurl in the shadows. Tree ferns with trunks like pillars. King ferns with fronds 4 meters long. They drip with water even when it hasn't rained. The humidity never drops. Vines climb toward the light. Strangler figs wrap around host trees, slowly tightening over decades until the host dies and the fig stands hollow but alive. Wait a while, vines catch anything that passes. Hooked thorns grip clothing, skin, fur. The name is a warning. Streams cut through the forest. Brown water stained by tannins from fallen leaves. The Mossman River runs cold and clear in places, tumbling over granite boulders. Mossman Gorge is a break in the green. Sunlight reaches the water. Tourists swim in pools that have existed for millions of years. The Daintree River moves slower. It widens as it nears the coast. Mangroves line the banks. The water is brackish, and in this water, crocodiles wait. Saltwater crocodiles, the largest reptiles on Earth. Males can reach 6 meters. They have been here since before the dinosaurs died. They have not needed to change. Crocodiles float with only their eyes and nostrils above the surface. They can stay motionless for hours, waiting, watching. When prey comes close, they explode from the water. The strike takes less than a second. The forest is full of birds. The cassowary walks the floor. A large flightless bird, nearly as tall as a man. Blue neck, black feathers, a bony helmet on its head. Cassowaries eat fallen fruit and spread seeds through the forest. Without them, many trees could not reproduce. Riflebirds call from the branches. Kingfishers flash blue and orange. Honey-eaters drink from flowers. At night, owls hunt and fruit bats swarm. The Boyd's forest dragon clings to tree trunks, a lizard with a prehistoric face. It stays perfectly still, trusting camouflage. Its skin matches the bark and lichen. Tree kangaroos climb in the canopy. Unlike their ground-dwelling cousins, they have adapted to life above. Strong forelimbs, curved claws. They move slowly through the branches, feeding on leaves. The Daintree reaches the sea at Cape Tribulation, a name given by Captain Cook after his ship struck the reef here in 1770. Rainforest tumbles down to white sand. Palm trees lean over the water. Behind them, the green wall rises. The sand is coarse. The water is warm. Stingers float in the shallows during certain months. Nothing is entirely safe here, but the beauty is undeniable. Mountains, forest, beach, reef, all visible in a single glance. This is where the ancient world survives, where the land has not forgotten what it was. The Daintree, 180 million years old, still growing, still wild. The southern coast of Australia meets the sea with force. Waves roll in from the Southern Ocean. They have traveled thousands of kilometers across open water. Nothing stops them, no islands, no reefs, just endless fetch building power until they hit the land. And the land here is limestone, soft rock, ancient seabed lifted above the water millions of years ago. The ocean carves it easily. Cliffs crumble, arches form and collapse. Stacks stand alone in the surf until they too fall. This is the Great Ocean Road, 240 kilometers of coastline in Victoria, one of the most dramatic drives on Earth. The road clings to the edge. On one side, green hills rise toward the Otway Ranges. On the other, the land drops away. Cliffs plunge to the water. Waves explode white against the rock. The 12 Apostles stand in the sea near Port Campbell. Limestone stacks rising from the surf, 45 meters tall, golden in the morning light, orange at sunset. There are not 12, there never were. The name was invented for tourists. Once there were 9, now 8 remain. In 2005, one collapsed into the sea. It took only seconds, thousands of years of standing, then gone. More will fall. The cliffs behind them retreat 3 centimeters each year. The ocean does not stop. New stacks will form as the land erodes. The coastline is always changing. Loch Ard Gorge cuts into the cliffs nearby, a narrow inlet with sheer walls. The beaches here are different from the tropical north. The sand is pale, the water is cold. Surfers wear wetsuits year-round. The waves are powerful. Bell's Beach, near Torquay, hosts one of the oldest surfing competitions in the world. The Otway Ranges rise behind the coast. Temperate rainforest covers the slopes, tree ferns and mountain ash, waterfalls hidden in the gullies. The air is cool and damp, a different world from the windswept cliffs below. Koalas live in the trees here. The Otways hold one of the densest koala populations in Australia. They sit in the forks of eucalyptus branches, sleeping through the day. At night they feed on leaves, moving slowly from tree to tree. The forest meets the sea at places like Mate's Rest. A boardwalk winds through the ferns. Ancient myrtle beech trees rise overhead. Some are over 300 years old. The sound of the ocean fades. Only birdsong remains. Along the coast, seabirds nest on the cliffs. Gannets dive from height, folding their wings and plunging into the water like arrows. They hit the surface at 100 kilometers per hour. Penguins come ashore at dusk. Little penguins, the smallest species in the world. They waddle up the beach to burrows in the dunes. Crowds gather to watch them at Phillip Island further east. Seals rest on the rocks at Cape Bridgewater. Australian fur seals. They haul out of the water to bask in the sun. Pups play in the shallows while adults watch for sharks. The Southern Ocean is cold and rich with nutrients. Whales pass through on their migration. Southern right whales, humpbacks. They travel from Antarctica to warmer waters to breed. From the cliffs, their spouts are visible, white puffs against the blue. This coastline has claimed many ships. The stretch near Port Campbell is called the Shipwreck Coast. Over 700 vessels have been lost here since the 1800s. Fog, wind, and hidden reefs. The sea does not forgive mistakes. But the beauty remains. Golden cliffs against blue water, green hills rolling to the edge, waves that never stop coming. The Great Ocean Road, where the land ends and the ocean begins. Off the coast of Queensland, the ocean changes colour. Deep blue becomes turquoise, turquoise becomes pale green. Beneath the surface, shapes emerge, ridges and valleys, towers and caves. A landscape built not from rock, but from life. The Great Barrier Reef. It stretches for over 2,300 kilometres along the northeast coast. From the tip of Cape York, almost to Bundaberg, larger than Italy, visible from space, the largest living structure ever created on Earth. But it is not one reef. It is nearly 3,000 individual reefs, 600 islands, countless sand cays and coral gardens, a maze of life spread across 344,000 square kilometers of ocean. The builders are tiny. Coral polyps, soft-bodied animals no bigger than a fingernail. They extract calcium from the seawater and build limestone skeletons around themselves. When they die, the skeletons remain. New polyps build on top, layer upon layer, generation after generation. This has been happening for 20 million years. The reef we see today is younger, around 8,000 years old, built since the last ice age when sea levels rose and flooded the continental shelf. But it sits on foundations that go back much further. Coral needs specific conditions: warm water, but not too warm; shallow water, but not too shallow; clear water so sunlight can reach it. The polyps themselves cannot photosynthesize, but inside their tissues live algae called zooxanthellae. These algae capture sunlight and produce food. In return, the coral provides shelter. A partnership millions of years old. This is why coral has color. The algae give it greens and browns and golden hues. The coral itself adds purples, pinks, and blues. Together, they create the colors of the reef. Elkhorn coral branches toward the light. Brain coral sits round and grooved like its name. Staghorn coral forms thickets where small fish hide. Plate coral spreads flat to catch the sun. Each species finds its place. Fish swarm around the structures. Over 1,500 species live on the Great Barrier Reef. Clownfish nestle in anemones, protected by stinging tentacles that do not harm them. Parrotfish scrape algae from the coral with beak-like teeth. They excrete sand. Much of the white sand on reef islands comes from parrotfish. Angelfish drift past in pairs. Butterflyfish pick at polyps. Surgeonfish carry blades near their tails, sharp enough to cut. Tiny damselfish defend their territories against intruders 10 times their size. In the deeper water, larger animals patrol. Reef sharks circle the drop-offs. White-tip reef sharks. Black-tip reef sharks. They are not aggressive toward humans. They hunt at night, follow in scent trails to sleep in fish. Giant groupers lurk in caves. Some weigh over 200 kilograms. They have been swimming these waters since before the tourists came. They watch. They wait. They are patient. Green sea turtles graze on seagrass beds. Loggerheads and hawksbills visit the reef to feed. Females return to the same beaches where they hatched to lay their own eggs. Some travel thousands of kilometers across the ocean to get there. Manta rays glide through the blue, wingspans reaching 7 meters. They feed on plankton, filtering the water through their gills. They move like slow birds, banking and turning with grace. During summer months, something extraordinary happens. On a single night after the full moon, the coral spawns. Billions of eggs and sperm release into the water at once. The ocean fills with pink and white clouds. Currents carry them across the reef. Those that survive will settle and start new colonies. The reef is not just below the water. Islands dot its length. Heron Island, Lizard Island, Lady Elliot Island. Some are true coral cays, built from broken shells and coral fragments. Birds nest on them by the thousands. Terns, frigate birds, boobies. The reef faces threats. Warming water causes bleaching. The coral expels its algae when stressed. It turns white. If conditions do not improve, it dies. Cyclones tear through the structures. Crown-of-thorns starfish devour polyps in plagues that can strip a reef bare. But the reef has survived before. Ice ages, sea level changes, natural disasters over millions of years. It rebuilds. It adapts. Life finds a way. Beneath the surface of the coral sea, the Great Barrier Reef continues. Growing, dying, growing again. A city of life, built by creatures too small to see. West of Sydney, the land rises, not sharply, not like the Himalayas or the Alps, but steadily. Sandstone plateaus lifting from the coastal plain. Deep valleys cutting between them. A maze of cliffs and canyons that stopped European explorers for 25 years. The Blue Mountains. The name comes from the haze. Eucalyptus oil evaporates from millions of trees. It hangs in the air, scattering light. From a distance, the valleys glow blue. A soft blue, like looking at the landscape through water. The mountains are not young. The sandstone formed over 200 million years ago. Rivers and rain have been carving them ever since. Vertical cliffs drop 300 meters to the valley floors. Waterfalls plunge over the edges after rain. The Three Sisters stand at Echo Point, 3 sandstone pillars rising from the valley, eroded from the cliff behind them over millions of years. They will continue to erode. Eventually they will fall. But for now they stand, golden in the morning light, orange at sunset. The Jameson Valley spreads below, a sea of green treetops filling the space between the cliffs. Mist gathers in the mornings, pooling in the valleys until the sun burns it away. Trails wind down into the forest. The giant stairway descends over 800 steps carved into the rock. At the bottom, the air changes. Cooler, damper. The sound of the wind above disappears. Only birdsong and the rustle of ferns. Eucalyptus forest covers the slopes. Blue gum, Sydney peppermint, scribbly gum, its bark marked with the tracks of moth larvae. The trees grow tall and straight, reaching for the light at the top of the canopy. The smell is everywhere. Eucalyptus oil, sharp and clean. In summer, it makes the forest flammable, Fire has shaped this landscape for millions of years. The trees have adapted. Thick bark protects the trunks. Dormant buds sprout new growth after flames pass. Some species need fire to release their seeds. Pockets of rainforest hide in the gullies, where water collects and fire cannot reach. Coachwood and sassafras grow here. Tree ferns spread their fronds. The ground is soft with moss. These pockets are remnants, survivors of a time when Australia was wetter and cooler. The Wollemi pine was discovered here in 1994, a tree thought extinct for 2 million years. Found growing in a narrow canyon, fewer than 100 adult trees exist in the wild. Their exact location is kept secret. Lyrebirds scratch through the leaf litter. The male has a tail like a lyre harp. He spreads it over his head during courtship displays. He sings, but not just his own song. He mimics everything he hears. Other birds, animals, chainsaws, camera shutters, a library of sounds. Wallabies graze at the forest edges, smaller than kangaroos. They emerge at dawn and dusk, disappearing into the scrub when disturbed. Wombats dig burrows in the softer ground. Their tunnels can run for 200 meters. They are nocturnal, rarely seen during the day, but their cube-shaped droppings mark their territories. Possums wake at night. Brushtail possums, ringtail possums, sugar gliders stretching membranes between their legs and leaping from tree to tree. The cliffs are home to falcons. Peregrine falcons nest on the ledges. They hunt pigeons and rosellas, diving at speeds over 300 kilometers per hour. The fastest animals on Earth. Wedge-tailed eagles ride the thermals above the valleys, wingspan over 2 meters. They watch for rabbits and wallabies on the ridges below. The Blue Mountains are not remote wilderness. Sydney is only 90 minutes away. Trains run to the towns along the ridge. Tourists crowd the lookouts, but the valleys remain wild, too steep to develop, too rugged to tame. The forest continues as it has for millions of years. Sandstone and eucalyptus, mist and blue haze. The Blue Mountains, where stone meets forest and time moves slowly. In the top end of the Northern Territory, the land floods. Every wet season, rain pours from the sky. Months of it, rivers burst their banks. Plains disappear under sheets of water. The landscape transforms from brown to silver. This is Kakadu, nearly 20,000 square kilometers of wetlands, forests, and escarpments, the largest national park in Australia, a place where water shapes everything. The wet season runs from November to April. Monsoon clouds build in the afternoons, dark and heavy, lightning flashes. Then the rain comes, warm and violent. It can drop 200 millimeters in a single day. The rivers swell. The South Alligator, the East Alligator, the Wildman. They rise and spread, connecting billabongs that were separate pools in the dry season. Fish swim across the floodplains. Birds arrive by the thousands. Magpie geese gather in flocks so large they darken the sky. They feed on water chestnuts and wild rice. Their calls fill the air, honking and chattering from dawn to dusk. Jabberus stalk the shallows, Australia's only stork, black and white with a red band on the neck. They stand over a meter tall, hunting fish and frogs with dagger beaks. Brolgas dance in the wetlands, grey cranes that pair for life. Their courtship involves leaping, bowing, and spreading wings. They have been dancing here for millions of years. Jacanas walk on lily pads. Their long toes spread their weight across the floating leaves. They look like they walk on water. As the dry season comes, the water retreats. Rivers shrink. Floodplains dry out. The silver sheets become brown mud, then cracked earth. The billabongs remain, scattered pools that hold the last of the water. And in these pools, the crocodiles wait. Saltwater crocodiles, the largest reptiles on Earth. Kakadu holds thousands of them. They lie in the billabongs, only eyes and nostrils visible, perfectly still, patient. When the waterholes shrink, the fish concentrate, the birds concentrate. Everything comes to drink. The crocodiles know this. They have been doing this for 200 million years. Above the wetlands, the escarpment rises. A wall of sandstone running along the eastern edge of Kakadu, 150 kilometers long, cliffs dropping 200 meters to the lowlands below. The rock is old, 1,600 million years old. Among the oldest exposed rock on Earth. It was already ancient when the first complex life appeared. Water pours over the escarpment during the wet season. Jim Falls drops 200 meters in a single plunge. Twin Falls splits around a boulder the size of a house. In the dry season, the falls slow to a trickle or stop completely. The stone holds more than water. Aboriginal people have lived in Kakadu for at least 65,000 years, among the longest continuous cultures on Earth. They left their marks on the rock. Paintings cover the shelters and overhangs. Thousands of sites across Kakadu. Some are recent, only centuries old. Others date back 20,000 years or more. Hunters recorded what they saw, what they hunted, what they respected. Spirit figures appear on the walls. Ubir and Nourlongji are the most visited sites. Rock overhangs covered in layer upon layer of images, some painted over others as generations passed. A gallery of human history stretching back further than civilization itself. The park holds more than water and stone. Monsoon forests grow in protected pockets. Paperbarks line the waterways, their white trunks peeling in sheets. Pandanus palms spread their spiky crowns. Wallabies graze on the escarpment. Black wallaroos, found only here, they hide among the rocks, dark fur blending with the shadows. Dingoes trot across the floodplains at dusk. They hunt alone or in pairs, taking whatever they can catch. Kakadu is not one landscape, it is many. Wetlands, woodlands, escarpment, and stone country, each changing with the seasons, flood and drought, green and brown. A land shaped by water, marked by time, alive with creatures that have been here longer than memory. 240 kilometers south of the mainland, an island sits in cold waters. Tasmania, separated from Australia when sea levels rose 12,000 years ago. Cut off, isolated, a place where the wild stayed wild. The island is small compared to the continent, 68,000 square kilometers, the size of Ireland. But within that space, wilderness covers nearly half the land, protected, untouched, some of the last temperate rainforest on Earth. The weather comes from the west, from the Southern Ocean, from the roaring 40s, those latitudes where winds circle the globe with nothing to stop them. The winds hit Tasmania first. They bring rain, cold, sudden changes. 4 seasons in one day. The locals say it without exaggeration. Cradle Mountain rises in the north of the island, a jagged peak of dolerite shaped by glaciers that retreated 10,000 years ago. Below it, Dove Lake reflects the mountain on still mornings. The water is dark, tannin-stained from the button grass plains. The overland track runs from Cradle Mountain to Lake St. Clair, 65 kilometers through alpine plateaus, rainforest valleys, and buttongrass moorland. One of the great walks of the world. 6 days through country that has not changed in thousands of years. The central highlands are windswept and sparse. Cushion plants grow in mats, hugging the ground against the cold. Pencil pines stand twisted by centuries of wind. Some are over 1,000 years old. They grow only here, survivors of the last ice age. The west coast is the wettest place in Australia. 3 meters of rain a year, more in some valleys. Rivers run brown with tannins. The forest is dense, impenetrable in places. The Tarkine spreads across the northwest, the largest temperate rainforest in Australia. Myrtle beech trees draped in moss. Horizontal scrub so tangled that early explorers took days to travel a single kilometer. The trees here are ancient. Huon pines grow along the riverbanks. They can live for 3,000 years. Some standing today were seedlings when the Egyptian pyramids were built. Their wood resists rot. It smells of honey. The east coast is different, drier, gentler. White sand beaches and orange lichen on granite boulders. Freycinet National Park curves along a peninsula. Wineglass Bay sits between 2 granite ridges. The water is clear and cold. The sand squeaks underfoot. Maria Island lies offshore. No cars, no shops, few people. Wombats graze in the open without fear. They have forgotten to be afraid. Tasmania is home to animals found nowhere else. The Tasmanian devil survives only here. The size of a small dog. Black fur, pink ears, a jaw strong enough to crush bone. They are scavengers mostly, eating whatever they find. Their screams at night sound like something from a nightmare, but they are not dangerous to humans, just loud. Devils were once on the mainland. They disappeared 3,000 years ago, around the time the dingo arrived. Tasmania had no dingoes. The devils survived. A disease has spread through devil populations in recent decades. Numbers have dropped sharply. Conservation programs are working to save them. Healthy populations are kept on islands and in sanctuaries. The eastern quoll also survives here. Spotted and cat-like, it hunts insects and small mammals at night. Extinct on the mainland since the 1960s. Tasmania is its last refuge. Pademelons graze at the forest edges. Small wallabies that freeze when startled, trusting stillness to protect them. Wombats are everywhere. Common wombats digging burrows in the hills. They waddle across roads at dusk, oblivious to cars. Platypus swim in the rivers. Tasmania has healthy populations. The skies hold wedge-tailed eagles. The forests hold masked owls. The shores hold penguins, coming ashore each night to burrows they have used for generations. Tasmania feels like the past. What Australia was before humans changed it. Forests that have never been logged. Rivers that have never been dammed. Animals that have never learned to fear. Cold, wet, remote. The island at the edge of the world. Australia broke away from the other continents millions of years ago. Life here took a different path. Evolution worked in isolation. The animals that emerged exist nowhere else on Earth. Marsupials dominate the land, mammals that carry their young in pouches. Born tiny and undeveloped, they crawl to the pouch and continue growing there. A system that works. A system that has worked for over 100 million years. The kangaroo is the symbol of Australia. Over 40 species exist. from the red kangaroo standing 2 meters tall to the musky rat kangaroo smaller than a rabbit. Red kangaroos live in the outback. They travel in mobs, grazing at dawn and dusk. When threatened, they flee in bounds. A single leap can cover 9 meters. They can reach speeds of 50 kilometers per hour. Grey kangaroos prefer the forests and grasslands of the east and south. Eastern greys, western greys. They are smaller than the reds but more numerous. Their populations have grown as farming created open grazing land. Wallabies fill the smaller niches. Rock wallabies live on cliff faces, leaping between ledges with perfect balance. Swamp wallabies browse in dense undergrowth. Pademelons hide at the forest edge. The koala sits in the branches above. Not a bear, a marsupial. It eats eucalyptus leaves and almost nothing else. The leaves are toxic to most animals. Low in nutrition, hard to digest. The koala has adapted. A specialized digestive system breaks down the toxins. But it takes energy. Koalas sleep up to 20 hours a day. They rarely drink water. The name koala comes from an Aboriginal word meaning no water. They get moisture from the leaves. Wombats dig below the surface, barrel-shaped marsupials with powerful legs built for burrowing. Their pouches face backward so dirt does not fill them while digging. Their droppings are cube-shaped, stacked to mark territory without rolling away. The Tasmanian devil is the largest surviving carnivorous marsupial. It hunts and scavenges in the forests of Tasmania. Powerful jaws crush bone. Nothing is wasted when a devil feeds. Quolls are smaller predators, spotted coats, sharp teeth. They climb trees and hunt at night. Once common across Australia, now rare on the mainland. Foxes and cats have taken their place. Then there are the monotremes, mammals that lay eggs. Only 5 species exist in the world, all of them in Australia and New Guinea. The platypus swims in the rivers of eastern Australia, a bill like a duck, a tail like a beaver, webbed feet, fur that repels water. Echidnas waddle through the bush, covered in spines like a hedgehog, a long snout, a sticky tongue for catching ants and termites. They dig into the soil when threatened, leaving only spines exposed. Echidnas also lay eggs. A single egg incubates in a pouch that develops during breeding season. The puggle hatches after 10 days and stays in the pouch until its spines begin to grow. Australia's birds are just as unique. The emu walks the outback. The second largest bird in the world. It cannot fly but can run at 50 kilometers per hour. Males raise the chicks alone, sitting on the eggs for 8 weeks without eating. Kookaburras laugh at dawn, kingfishers that hunt snakes and lizards instead of fish. Their call echoes through the bush, a signal that morning has arrived. Cockatoos screech across the sky, white, pink, black. They travel in flocks, stripping seeds from trees and grass. Their intelligence is remarkable. They solve puzzles. They use tools. Lyrebirds mimic every sound they hear. Chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, other birds. They weave these sounds into songs to attract mates. Reptiles have been here even longer. Goannas patrol the land. Monitor lizards up to 2 meters long. They eat eggs, carrion, small mammals. Their forked tongues taste the air. Snakes are everywhere. Taipans, brown snakes, tiger snakes, death adders. Australia has more venomous snakes than any other continent. Most avoid humans. Bites are rare, but the venom is potent. Saltwater crocodiles rule the northern waters. Freshwater crocodiles live in the inland rivers. Both have survived since the age of dinosaurs. Australia's wildlife is strange, because it had time to become strange, millions of years alone. Evolution without outside influence. These animals belong to this land. They always have. Australia is surrounded by water, 34,000 kilometers of coastline, 3 oceans meeting at its shores, the Pacific to the east, the Indian to the west, the Southern Ocean pushing cold currents up from Antarctica. The water holds as much life as the land. Whales travel these coasts every year, the longest migrations of any mammal on Earth. Humpback whales spend summer feeding in Antarctic waters. When winter comes, they swim north, up the east coast, up the west coast, thousands of kilometers to reach warm, shallow bays where they mate and give birth. They pass close to shore, close enough to see from cliff tops and beaches. Mothers and calves travel slowly, resting in protected waters before the long journey south. Humpbacks breach. 40 tons of whale launch in from the water, twisting, crashing back. No one knows exactly why. Communication, play, removing parasites, perhaps all three. Southern right whales gather in the bays of South Australia. They were named by whalers who considered them the right whale to hunt. Slow, floating when dead, full of oil, they were nearly wiped out. Now they are protected. Numbers are slowly rising. They come to the Great Australian Bight to breed. Mothers nurse their calves in the shallow water. From the cliffs above, you can watch them. Black shapes moving against the blue. Blue whales pass through Australian waters, the largest animals that have ever lived. 30 meters long, 150 tons. Their hearts weigh as much as a car. They feed on krill, filtering tons of water through baleen plates. Orcas hunt in the southern waters. Pods work together to take seals, penguins, even other whales. They are intelligent, strategic. Each pod has its own dialect, calls passed from generation to generation. Sharks patrol every coast. The great white shark lives in the cooler southern waters. Up to 6 meters long, rows of serrated teeth. They hunt seals and sea lions, ambushing from below with explosive speed. Neptune Islands, off South Australia, is one of the best places in the world to see them. Cage diving brings humans face to face with these predators. Grey shapes emerging from the blue, black eyes, ancient and unchanged. Tiger sharks cruise the warmer northern waters. They eat almost anything: fish, turtles, birds, garbage. Their stripes fade as they age. Bull sharks swim in rivers as well as the sea. They tolerate fresh water. They have been found hundreds of kilometers inland. Whale sharks visit Ningaloo Reef each year, the largest fish in the ocean, up to 12 meters long. But they are gentle. Filter feeders eating plankton and small fish. Swimmers can float alongside them as they cruise slowly through the water. Dolphins ride the waves along every coast. Bottlenose dolphins surf in the shallows. They play, they investigate boats. They seem to enjoy human attention. Spinner dolphins leap and spin in the tropical waters. Pods number in the hundreds. They hunt at night and rest during the day. Dusky dolphins gather in the cooler southern seas. Acrobatic and social, they travel in groups that can number over 1,000. Seals and sea lions haul out on rocks and beaches. Australian fur seals breed on islands in Bass Strait. Males fight for territory. Females nurse pups on crowded beaches. The smell is powerful, the noise constant. Australian sea lions live along the south and west coasts. They are curious, playful. Divers encounter them underwater, spinning and weaving, blowing bubbles. Penguins come ashore at dusk. Little penguins, the smallest species in the world, nest in burrows along the southern coast. Phillip Island is famous for them. Each evening, hundreds waddle up the beach after a day of fishing. They have made this journey for thousands of years. Sea turtles nest on the beaches of the north. Green turtles, loggerheads, hawksbills, flatbacks, found only in Australian waters. Females drag themselves up the sand at night, dig nests, and lay over 100 eggs. Weeks later, the hatchlings emerge and run for the water. Birds and crabs take many. Only a few survive. Dugongs graze in the warm shallows. Sea cows, gentle and slow, they eat seagrass, grazing like underwater elephants. Shark Bay and Moreton Bay hold large populations. The ocean around Australia is as varied as the land. Tropical reefs, temperate kelp forests, cold southern depths, each with its own creatures, its own rhythms. The water connects everything. It brings whales from Antarctica. It carries turtles across the Pacific. It feeds the coast and everyone who lives on it. Blue and endless, the ocean that surrounds the island continent. Australia sits alone in the southern seas. It has been alone for 45 million years, drifting, changing, becoming something unlike anywhere else on Earth. The red center bakes under a sun that never softens. Uluru glows at dawn and dusk, the same as it has for 600 million years. The desert waits for rain that may not come. The rainforests of the north drip with water. Ancient trees stand where their ancestors stood when dinosaurs walked beneath them. The Daintree has not forgotten what it was. The southern coast takes the full force of the ocean. Cliffs crumble, stacks fall, new ones rise. The Great Ocean Road changes every year, shaped by waves that never stop. The reef breathes beneath the surface. Coral building on coral, fish swarming through cities of limestone, the Great Barrier Reef has survived ice ages and warming seas. It continues. The Blue Mountains hold their mist. Eucalyptus fills the valleys with blue haze. Sandstone cliffs drop into forests that have never been logged. Kakadu floods and dries with the seasons. Crocodiles wait in the billabongs. Birds arrive by the millions. The rock art watches over it all, painted by hands that understood this land long before anyone else. Tasmania holds the cold, rainforests where moss covers everything, mountains shaped by ice, animals that disappeared from the mainland still walk here. Kangaroos cross the open country at dusk. Koalas sleep in the branches. Platypus swim in the rivers. Creatures that evolution made only once, only here. Whales pass along both coasts. Sharks patrol the reefs. Penguins waddle ashore at nightfall. The ocean connects Australia to the rest of the world. But the land remains apart. At night, the bush wakes up. Possums climb, owls hunt, bats fill the sky. The darkness belongs to those who have always owned it. This is a land of extremes. Drought and flood, fire and growth, heat that kills and cold that surprises. Nothing is gentle here. Nothing is easy. But life found a way. It always has. The first Australians arrived 65,000 years ago. They learned the land. They lived with it. Their stories still echo in the rock and the sky. Europeans came later. They tried to change the land. Some things changed, many did not. The continent is too big, too old, too stubborn. Australia does not bend to anyone. The deserts remain, the forests remain, the reefs remain, the animals remain. Ancient, isolated, strange, a continent like no other.